Would it surprise you if I told you that the government knows Bigfoot exists? Without a doubt, they've been looking into the phenomena since at least 1967 when this footage was shot. Since then, Bigfoot has captivated the minds of the curious in a way that no other phenomena has. The mystery is still so strong despite there being a severe lack of evidence on file when compared to other topics, such as the UFO phenomena. Yes, we may lack the abundance of good Bigfoot footage in comparison to the UFO footage gathered in that field, but the incredible amount of high-quality witness testimony, combined with a fair amount of extremely compelling trace evidence, should almost certainly be enough to catch the attention of those in control of our national parks and government-regulated wilderness areas. I like to call these wilderness areas Sasquatch sanctuaries. They're perfect areas to keep Bigfoot a secret. Many think these areas were even established specifically to protect Bigfoot, but also to keep them hidden. But do you want to know what else is being hidden? The records of thousands of people who have supposedly vanished into thin air within these parks. Why would that information be hidden or hard to come by? It seems like it's information that people should know when venturing deep into the wilderness. Odds are they know exactly what is going on, but I suspect it'll be a very long time before we find out the truth. Are Bigfoot creatures being hidden in the deepest depths of our national forests? Is there a government cover-up regarding the massive amount of missing people in these forests? Are they actually going out into the wilderness themselves to study or attempt to even capture one of these things? We'll cover everything in this episode of Mountain Beast Mysteries. When we think about the government knowledge of Bigfoot, we have to think about what the subject of Bigfoot means to them and why it would even be in their interest. Well, there are many reasons as to why the government would be keeping an eye on this subject, and not just keeping an eye on it, but actually actively researching it. Sometimes I wonder how close we are to the actual discovery of Bigfoot as amateur investigators, and then I think, if the government is indeed investigating this as well, they're probably leaps and bounds ahead of us. They might already have bodies even, or some sort of a relationship to the creature. The government has the funding to really do anything that they want as far as research goes. They can get any technology they want, they can get the brightest academics out there. The possibilities for them are endless. And there have been countless times where I've heard many amateur investigators or Bigfoot enthusiasts say, well, if I had the funding and the resources, this mystery would be put to bed pretty fast. I mean, this is definitely true to a degree. The more resources at your disposal, the better. But the government is without a doubt better equipped to take something on like this. And on top of that, they can pretty much do whatever they want, wherever they want, at any time. They control the land, they manage all of the wilderness areas, and if the government had people out there actively searching for Bigfoot, we probably wouldn't ever know. So again, why would the government want to pursue the Bigfoot mystery? Looking at the big picture, if Bigfoot, an upright walking hominid, was actually proven to exist alongside humans, it would for sure rewrite the history books and shake the beliefs of the majority of people on this planet. And if that actually happens, people will start to wonder, what else is out there? They'll wonder what else is wrong with our written history. What else are we being lied to about? This would definitely be the discovery of a lifetime, the discovery of many, many lifetimes, and it would affect some people and their beliefs in a very negative way. These days, the government is oddly enough being very open to the discussion of, UFOs or UAPs or whatever you want to call them. After so many years of silence or brushing UFO incidents off as hoaxes or misidentifications. But we've always known that they have been looking into it with the countless, well-documented reports of UFO crashes and, the military turning up immediately after to clean up the scene and pretend like nothing ever happened. Now, for whatever reason, they're coming out and saying, yes, these things are in the sky and they can do things that seem impossible, and we don't know what they are or where they've come from. How long is it going to be before they say that, they're actively out there searching for Bigfoot? Or even, that they have definitive proof of Bigfoot, such as a body. I'm sure whenever they find a way to use the mystery of Bigfoot to their advantage, they will. Now, I want to talk about the national parks. National parks are interesting because they're some of the most majestic and beautiful wilderness areas, and also, they're protected and controlled by the government. National parks are obviously areas that are heavily traveled by tourists, but for the most part, these tourists stay to very well-defined trails and well-defined areas within the parks. Overnight camping in random areas within parks, is something that is prohibited. At least here in Canada it is, making it nearly impossible to explore areas that are deep within these parks. Most of the time you're limited to what you can explore within a day, which will never really bring you closer to where the Bigfoot reside. We want to get out there deep into the wilderness. We want to explore places that are rarely explored or haven't ever been explored. We're limited to crown land or public land for our serious research expeditions because we don't have these restrictions. And because this crown land isn't regulated in the same way, it's definitely more high risk for the Bigfoot to be out and about, moving around. On crown land, people are much less careful about how they behave in the outdoors. In parks, here in Canada at least, you can't discharge firearms or do anything destructive like that. But on crown land, you can. Bigfoot would be much safer moving around within park boundaries, where this kind of stuff is prohibited. The parks are like sanctuaries to them, but they are controlled by the government. The government could say, hey, we are doing studies in this area on the local grizzly bear population. The area is off limits to anyone, so you can't go in there. And then people are like, oh, well, shucks, we can't go in there because they're doing bear research. When in reality, they could be doing literally anything in there, such as researching Bigfoot or hunting Bigfoot or whatever else your imagination could come up with. They have complete control and they could be hiding anything. I don't know if there's anything to what I'm about to say, but I always hear of people going missing and never showing up or are never found or whatnot within the national parks. I hear way more stories of this happening in these parks, which are supposed to be, popular, busy areas that are well traveled. There's people around, they should be safe, right? Apparently not. Something could be out there taking people. Bigfoot could be out there taking people. I don't hear nearly as many stories like this that take place on crown land. Of course people go missing on crown land, but you don't hear these crazy cold cases like in the missing 411 books. National parks and really touristy areas also tend to bring in people who, really aren't that experienced in the outdoors because they usually have all the amenities in these parks and there's well-defined trails and all that. So naturally, the inexperienced people are more susceptible to getting lost out in the wilderness, and within these parks. But it's pretty well known these days due to the work of David Paulides and his Missing 411 book series and his documentaries that the Forest Service hasn't been keeping an official record of these missing people cases. And these are unsolved cases, they're cold cases. Why wouldn't they keep an official record? You think it would be helpful in some way in solving these cases, right? Why is this? They must have some sort of record, but obviously no official or public record. If people are in fact being taken by Bigfoot, and that is the reason they are never found, then, they would have to admit that Bigfoot is real, and Bigfoot is in these protected parks, and we've been keeping them a secret. And if they admit that Bigfoot exists, then the world will change forever in a massive way. And we hear a lot of stories in the Bigfoot community of people witnessing military operations out in the wilderness when they're out hiking or camping or hunting or whatever. I personally have never witnessed anything like this that I'm aware of, but when I imagine something like this actually happening, I always visualize it for some reason as a group of fully equipped soldiers sneaking around in the woods or maybe getting deployed by helicopter in a certain area of the wilderness and they look all camoed out and tactical. That's what I imagine. And people have claimed to have seen stuff like this, and people claim, that they'll go out into the wilderness and they'll fake training exercises, when in reality what they're doing is searching for or hunting Bigfoot. I feel like if the military was actually out there doing that you wouldn't even know, because odds are they wouldn't be wearing camo or, and carrying around all their military equipment, and it wouldn't be obvious. They'd be in a disguise. Why would you go into the parks or on Crownland areas looking for Bigfoot dressed like you're going into battle. You'd disguise yourself from the public, but also from Bigfoot. Maybe as a hiker or a group of hikers, or maybe as a group of hunters, and then you could carry a firearm. Or maybe just as like wildlife biologists or whatnot, or maybe trappers, or, whatever. If you ran into a group of people in the bush who looked like hikers or hunters, you would think that that's exactly what they are. I'm pretty skeptical actually when it comes to, people making claims of witnessing military forces coming in and shooting up the place, because you do hear stories like that, and none of them have ever been proven. Aren't they trying to keep Bigfoot a secret? Why would they do that? I don't know. I wonder if there's ever been a time when I was out in the bush looking for Bigfoot and I came across a group of hikers who weren't actually hikers. It's just something to think about, If the government is hiding the existence of Bigfoot, and if they're out there looking for it or attempting to hunt them down, I think they would do it in an undercover, clandestine way. But I want to know what you guys think about this. Do you think they are aware of what is going on? Do they know Bigfoot exists? Are they watching people like us who are actively searching for this thing? That's something that I think about quite often these days. And it's kind of freaky to think about that, in all honesty. But I want to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comment section down below. Thanks for watching the video and sticking around to the end. We'll see you next time on Mountain Beast Mysteries.